George of the jungle, strong as he can be.
George, I just got a letter in the mail and it's telling me that Fannie Mae is not going to be doing certain kinds of conventional loans anymore, that they're all gone. Can you quick refinance my house for me? Sometimes my competitors do my best marketing for me, and that's what we're going to be talking about in thecreditjungle.com today. This is George Anderson. Thanks for joining me. And there's some partial truth to the phone call that I got from one of my clients earlier this morning. Her and her husband owned a handful of investment properties, and she said, I've got this letter right here, and it had a reference and a bulletin point number and a letter number and everything else. But yeah, there was an announcement from Fannie Mae saying that they are going to cease purchasing investment property loans that have been manually underwritten. And I started thinking about that, and I'm going, when's the last time I did a manually underwritten conventional loan on a non-owner occupied property? I don't have one in recent memory that I can remember at all. But anyway, it was a attention-grabbing piece of mail, and I thought about, you know what, most people don't know the difference between manual and automated underwriting. And so I'm going to explain what that is just a little bit. If there's anybody out there that's a Dave Ramsey fan, you know that there is a mortgage company that advertises that, even if you don't have a credit score, that we can do your loan for you and everything else. And yeah, that's true. And anybody can do that because Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac don't require you to have credit scores, neither does FHA nor does VA. However, there is an adjustment to the pricing on that. So again, somebody who wants to follow that philosophy on managing your money and not have a credit score, that's okay if you want to do that. But you need to understand that there's going to be some things that are going to be less convenient and maybe even more expensive. And manual underwriting is going to be one of those issues. So anyway, but manual underwriting is probably more commonly associated with FHA loans than it is with conventional or with VA. In fact, in the FHA underwriting manual, which is called the 4000.1, they actually have two different categories of underwriting. One of them that refers to an automated type of underwriting, which is called total scorecard with FHA, and then the other one is standard or manual underwriting. And probably the best way that I know how to explain it is if anybody knows the difference between an automatic transmission of driving a car or a manual transmission where you got to have hands and feet and everything else engaged to be able to make the car go. That's very similar to what you see on a manual underwriting. Automated underwriting would use Desktop Underwriter or Loan Prospector, which are Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's automated underwriting systems that will just tell you that, okay, yeah, based on the credit report, the debt ratios and everything else, this file is going to go ahead and be approved according to automated underwriting standards, or it's eligible for delivery under those circumstances. And along with that will come a reduced amount of documentation, and depending on the credit scores will also come a preferential treatment for mortgage insurance and also for the interest rate. Now, someone that does not have a credit score doesn't mean that their loan can't be approved. So that loan can still be approved, but it's manual. In other words, you got to know how to use the clutch. You got to be able to feather the clutch when shifting from first gear to second gear. And you got to know what to do when you come to a stop. You got to get some more information from the borrower. You got to gather things like a landlord rating. Do you have to have more documentation on the source of funds? Do you have to use a lower debt to income ratio to be able to make the client fit? And under certain circumstances, all of those things can apply, including having to have additional reserves in the bank after you close the loan, even on a primary residence. So I'm not going to discourage anybody that wants to adhere to the philosophy of not having a credit score, but you just need to understand that you're going to have a little bit more documentation to provide to the underwriter to get your loan approved, and you may not get the same interest rate as your neighbor who has the 750 credit score. But manual underwriting is still available. I don't know, I can't think of anybody that would own rental properties that is not going to have a credit score, okay? Because if you have other mortgages anywhere, you're going to have a credit score. So I can't see that this announcement that we got from Fannie Mae earlier this week is going to knock out more than maybe 1% of the total amount of loans that they're purchasing. But it made for some great marketing, and it allowed one of my past clients to call me instead of calling the person they got the letter from. So thank you whoever sent that, and for keeping my clients close to me. But anybody who wants some more information, you can push button, get Mortgage Professional. I would love to talk with you about your situation and structure a loan that will meet your needs. Have a great day. This is George Anderson, and this is thecreditjungle.com.